Hey guys, so here's part 2 of going through the rest of the black box and the things that need to be finished with it, which at this point we have the physical space. It looks correct to what we want it to be and it's accurate to it. The biggest things that are missing, and we'll go through the rest of this, is using our paint bucket tool to get our textures in like we'd like, as well as kind of scaling in, adding in our 3D warehouse a character, and going into the last bits to it. So first thing we're going to kind of do is I want to just go ahead and start painting things black that I want in here that will be black. So I'm going to choose a paint bucket tool, and if you don't already have this default tray that's already open that's over here, it should open up when you click on the paint bucket tool. We'll want to make sure we're under this materials flat, that you can open it up under the little caret is how, if it's not open, you can click on it. It should open up something that looks similar to this. But we want to change the material so that it's black right now. So if we go over here and do the drop down, we have a bunch of already preset things that are loaded into SketchUp for us. So I'll just go to the colored name, and you can scroll down. This one's kind of preference based onto it, but I like to use charcoal on the colored names for when I'm using a black box, just because the black is too much and I can't see like my corners and things with it. So I just prefer to use the charcoal. So we click on it to select, and then we can kind of click and start dropping onto what we want black. So with this, I like to do the outsides all black. I'll also do the sides and the top to that, just because like if I'm flying around with a director or things, I'll color it. I'll go ahead and do the bottom too for that same reason. And then I'll do the tops of the walkways, the side portions to it, top here, here. Great. That looks like that's the pieces that I want to cover black for right now. Oh, there. So next, I want to do the cinder blocks. I want to add those onto here because our black box is a cinder blocks, a black box that has cinder blocks onto it. So I'm going to go under the materials, back to again where my paint bucket where it shows the black. And this time I'm going to choose the bricks, cladding, and sliding one. And then I like to use the concrete blocks, 8x8 gray. So I'll click on it, select, and I just got to scroll up to see it. And then I want to go over here to where it says create material. It's kind of what looks like a cardboard box with a little plus sign. I want to click on it, and it should open up this menu for us. This is where we can kind of edit and alter that material for it. So right now it's set to what it's already preset at. That's kind of loaded in here. And so I'm going to go ahead and I want to make that darker because I want those blocks to still be pretty black. And then we'll say okay for that. And then it may load. It just takes a second for however long it does just to edit that material. And then we can drop that again like the paint bucket. You'll notice with these right now that the size of these are a little too small. If I get my line tool out, I can kind of measure the size of these, and right now it's about 7 by 7. And you can see in here, so I want to go back in, that material is still selected, and I want to go back to this cardboard box to edit continuously. This is where we can edit the size of that material that's being pasted, and it repeats itself on here, and it's by a 4x4 foot chunk. So like that square right there is being repeated at that many times, and it's 4x4. Well, right now the height of the cinder block's pretty close. I mean, it could be a little bit taller. The width of it is about too small. A cinder block, I like to put it at about 8x16 is the length of them. So first thing I want to is I want to click this. This unlocks the ratio just so that I'm able to edit these two different numbers. So I want to double that. I want to see if 4 foot by 8 foot will do it. So I want the width of it at 8 foot, the height at 4 foot. I'm going to hit OK again. I may have to select my paint bucket and drop it back on there and see. That looks better. Again, I'm willing to bet I'm not going to be the happiest with the height, but it's pretty close. The width is still a little off. So I may just edit it a little bit differently. That maybe I want to see if I unlock again that ratio again, I want to see 5 foot by 9 foot, and I want to see if maybe that will make it better. And so hit OK again, paint bucket, drop it on here. I like that better. They look closer to accurate, a little bit bigger, which is better in my opinion right now. By that, and we'll call that good, because by the eye that looks pretty similar to it. So I just want to use my paint bucket tool and again go around and add that to all the textures that would be bricked, and that would be all the walls in the space. So go over here and continue clicking on everything I want bricked. Brick, brick, brick. Brick, 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 brick. And so you'll notice I missed some spaces on here. With my paint bucket tool, I can also, if I hold my Alt key, I'll get this little eyedropper tool. I can go back to this black and I'll click on it, and I can drop it back on these things to reuse that black again for all the places that I missed. So I can go back around and fill in. I forgot to do these walls. And it's the same thing. So I'm just going to kind of go back into the paint bucket to suck up that brick, and I'm going to add it to here. Oh, and I noticed up here I missed it, so sucking up the floor to add the black up to here. I'm not too worried that I have some blacking on some different places, but so looks like I've got it all, and I can again go in and change these if I've missed some. So yep, need the brick again to add to that. Up there. You guys again will need to do this same thing of just making sure you're kind of spinning around your model and getting it all in that place. That I like to show all these bricks to it, that even though there would be framing right there, the cinder blocks are correct to that wall and how we kind of want them. But this looks pretty great. So last step, I'm just going to use my eyedropper tool to suck up that black again. Is I want to select and I want to now change my railing. So the whole railing, since our last part, should all be a group. So we want to double click on it so we can get inside of that. Next thing we want to do again is choose one of the railing pieces again, and we want to double click on that. So now we're editing the component. This is where again the components, with if you have things that are the same and there are multiples of them, this is really great and quick to it. So now if I take my mouse and I'm going to click and I'm just going to drag so I can select all of it, and you can see I've selected this. You can also notice with selecting that I have everything else selected because I'm editing all of these components at one time. So I'm going to choose my paint bucket tool, should have that black again selected, and I'm going to just drop it on there, and all those pieces have now turned black. I'm just clicking off of that once to kind of go around and move at it. So if I hit escape once, that should get me out of that component. Now I just want to do the same thing with the smaller versions of the railing. So I'm going to double click on it. I'm then going to select all of it. I'm going to go to my paint bucket and choose it, drop the black on it, and I can hit escape, escape, and I'm just going to kind of hit escape to get out of there. And now all the railing is black. At this point, this is the black box. Like, this is ready to officially go, and you can kind of start adding the last pieces to what we need. So with my spaces, because I don't want this editable, I want this kind of saved to it, the next step is to select all of this again, and I want to right click, and I want to make this a group. Now I can add things into this space and not worry that it's going to kind of be editable, that this space is permanently locked to what it is, and I can keep this and trust that it's to what I want it to be. For the next portion of this and what we're wanting to see, because for a true model, we like to have a scale person, we need to add one back in. This is where, again, I don't like using Laura, so we need to kind of, again, add our own character to it. So we'll go up here to Window, and then down to 3D Warehouse, and click on it. This may, again, take a second to load, and you'll want to make sure that you are connected to the internet, because we're going to download characters off of the internet. SketchUp has this really great warehouse for it to open up what we need to and do what it wants. Great, so once it opens, you guys should be presented with something that kind of looks like similar to this. You may have different things that load into here or different kind of things up top. But what we want to make sure again is that we're up here into the search thing and we just want to look for a 3D character. 3D person is what we're going to put in here. I put an E instead of that. 3D person. And see what we find. These can be anything of your guys' choice. But kind of again search around and choose someone who you like. It can be anyone in here, I don't care. But when we're ready to edit it in or add the character into it, we want to hit this download. And we want to load it directly into the SketchUp model, yes. Takes however long it does. This may again take a moment because again, it's got to load itself and download it right into your model. Great, so our person has now appeared in here and we want to click to drop them into space and then we can kind of do everything we want to move it around. So first thing I want to kind of check with my person is I want to make sure it's to the right height. So I want to get my line tool. I've made sure to move him and I've grounded him on the black blocks floor just so I have a grounding point. And I want to click somewhere next to him, making sure I'm on the face of it. And I want to draw a line straight up that's roughly 6 feet. For scale characters, that's what I like to see them at, is roughly 6 feet of height, just because it gets me pretty good to it. And he's a little short, so I'm going to make sure he's selected. And I'm going to use my scale tool. And I'm going to use the arrows, and doesn't have to be super precise. I've clicked on this top corner one so that it makes sure that it has its point that's keeping it in reference to the sizes. And I want to get it roughly up there, just 6 feet. So I got him a little too tall, so I just want to kind of move him down again. And that's great. This doesn't have to be a super precise science, because again, like I'd rather him be a little too tall to what it is. But so I can erase that out. Oops, I erased too much. Control Z. I can erase that line back out, and now I have my character to what I want it to be. The next step is we want to add in the seating that I provided for you guys. So this is kind of the same exact thing that we did with the grid, that I have provided you a file of seating that I want you to import into here. So I'm going to go do the same process of going up to File, Import, and then we want to find where you have saved that file at. Here is mine, and I've labeled it seating, and I want to import it. File. But there it is. You can see it on here now. It's kind of moved around. And I'm just going to place it in space for a minute. You'll notice, whoever made this, wow, what a jerk. It's too small. You'll need to scale this up to what it wants to be, to a proper size. So once we have it selected, as it currently already is, we want to go to the scale tool, and we want to choose one of the corners, because I don't want to distort it any or kind of skew that shape. So I don't want to kind of pull any of these ones, but I like to go to the corner. We can click it and scale it up to what we feel is a reasonable size. Just mind to scroll. I will tell you, because I'm the one who made this and the correct size of it, that I have scaled it down and the different factors. So kind of where the measurement tool is, you'll see right now, you can see a number jumping up and down. I have scaled that down to half of its size. So you can kind of move it and see if you can get it to jump to 2. Or if you just want to go ahead and type 2, you can type it and then hit enter, and it will double it up. And now we have seating that's the correct size. It just needs to be moved. So I'm going to take it and I want to move it up to this back corner and place it into that space. This should be a good sized seating for it, and we'll just go ahead and take a line and make sure it is that, yeah, it's roughly 3 feet, which is the size of our risers, 6-inch rises, which is great. And this seating will work great for it. So the last part of this assignment that I have for you guys is to go into the 3D warehouse and add more elements to this space. Add at least 5 things into this space from the 3D warehouse and edit them. Look at it editing their materials, look at going into it, and as we kind of discussed in the class, going through their view and looking at their hidden geometry and trying to see what you can to edit it. And using those different pieces to it. Really use this point to kind of play with the tools and edit it and kind of explore into it. Because you'll find with each of the different times you're modeling in this space for the adaptation project or for the final project, that's what a lot of this will go into, is you'll go into the 3D warehouse, you'll download something into it, and you'll edit it and kind of going into what you need for it. That's what a lot of this kind of works with, is having to be able to kind of move these things. So I look forward to kind of seeing what you guys come with and really using this as an opportunity to question anything that you're kind of seeing with it or trying to really go into it. And don't forget again that if you have anything that you kind of need to immediately, Google those questions.